Man, that intro is just so awesome. I love it, dude.
That
I know.
is hype.
I know it's awesome. I know everybody else loves it too because I've been getting comments about it. But listen, everybody, obviously know we are live, and what an honor it is to sit back down with my man Michael Correa and SFLminiGP. See, I didn't fuck it up, Mike. I've had a lot of time practicing giving you guys a shout out. So yeah, I didn't mess it up this time. I'm proud of myself. But anyway, welcome, brother, man. How you been?
Thank you, dude. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm excited to do this again with you. And before we even get going, let me go ahead and tell you that you are probably the hardest working man in podcast today. Dude, you got one every other day. Every day you're pumping them out. I'm waiting for them to blow up. I'm waiting for them to blow up. So all them other people who said, nah, his podcast ain't big enough, I ain't getting on, are going to regret it. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for them regret emails like, yo, sorry, I got to put you on the back burner. I got so-and-so coming up next. So
that's right.
Love it. Congratulations, dude. You're kicking ass.
Dude, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. What an honor, man. And honestly, Mike, like I never, I tell people, if you'd have told me 2 years ago I'd be doing this shit, I'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever. But then since I've been on here, man, it's like, dude, this something just woke up inside me and I can't stop, dude. I just got to keep going, man. Keep going.
People from all over the place, which makes it even better. You're hitting people from all over the place, and it's awesome. It's good. It's giving them time to express themselves. You're allowing them to, meet other people that are connected through your show, and it's cool, dude. It's really, really cool. So congratulations to you. Bravo.
Thank you.
How's that work? Hold on. How's that work? Nope. My hands don't do it.
Oh, what? Mine's not doing it neither now. Dude, it was doing it. Oh no, there you go.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it is. Nothing but love. You right.
My hands won't do it.
That's all right. We'll figure it out, dude. Because I had one guest that did it, and they actually showed me. They're like, "Did you just see that?" I was like, "What'd you just do?" Yeah. So I don't know. We'll figure. Damn computers, right? Again. Absolutely. But yeah, man. So listen, last time I had you on, it was all about how you got the whole. Dude, listen, what you're doing for the sport again, and I said this for the whole SFL Mini and just everybody in the whole United States, best program, hands down. I tell everybody that, especially if you want to learn how to ride, grow up and race, man, there's no better class in people than Michael Correa and SFL. They've already had 2023 Avery, the lap slayer Dreyer champion, come straight out the program. I mean, that's all that needs to be said, right? I mean, honestly,
it's a massive, massive milestone. My partners up north, Ryan and Nathan, they've been doing it, I think 10 years longer than I have at this point. So they've got a lot more accolades in that field, but I'm glad, as 7 years in, we were able to get our first national champion, come out of the ranks, and no one better than Avery and his family to show what the program is able to do. And it's proven, right? The program is proven. MiniGP kids show up, and when people find out a MiniGP kids there at the track, they're like, shit, we either got to show up or sit back and applaud them because they're there, they're professional, they know how to act, they know how to behave, they know how to talk to you, and when they go out on the racetrack, man, they're killers. So it's fantastic. It's fantastic that we've been able to breed that style of athlete, that we've been able to breed that style of family. And I'm honored. At the end of the day, they represent me. They represent the logo. They represent the school and everything that's part of it. And it's built around them. So, they choose and decide to do what they want to do with it. And I'm glad they've decided to do what they're doing at this point.
What's up, buddy?
How's it going?
Say good. So I just got off the school bus. Look, you don't let Cruz in here. Get him out of here because he's going to be in here barking the whole time and talking. Dude, yeah, absolutely crucial. But yeah, you're right, man. You listen, you said I'm the hardest working guy on podcasts, and I think it, but listen, ditto to you too. Same thing with you and working full time and doing the whole SFL Mini and week in, week out programming, getting sponsorships on board. I mean, you're a busy man.
I'm telling you, dude, if it wasn't for my right hand, which is my wife, if she didn't let me miss out on half of the family stuff I miss out to get this stuff done, it probably wouldn't be who it is today. So big shout out to her. She's a big integral portion of it, behind the scenes. A lot of people don't get to see her. She's not the face and she's not the yappity one all over the place, but she allows me to do what I got to do. She takes care of the home while I'm out there doing what I got to do. And she works full time as well. So it's a full family effort, 110%. And now Julian's freaking old enough to do his part also. So I have him lug stuff around and do stuff too. Grayson's turning 10. Well, Grayson is 10. So he's coming up next, man. It's going to be everybody involved at that point. But yeah, man, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. You know, there's a lot of money that's involved in it too, trying to keep everything safe and sound and up to date with the times and whatnot. So there's a lot that goes into it. And, you know, again, at the end of the day, it is a business, and, you know, it's got to pay for itself and it's got to be worthwhile. And for me, the smiles, the happiness, the memories, and all the stuff that we make, you know, every weekend that we go out and have some fun really, really makes it worthwhile. So the cherry on top is the speed of the kids and everyone that comes out, but the true cake is the memories, the smiles, and the fun. So that makes it for sure.
Dude, 110% couldn't agree more, right? And plus, you know, my mom always says it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a village to raise a racer too, right? Same thing. Yeah, it's yeah, dude, I can't be more proud of what you guys do. Matter of fact, I got the old logo on here. Yeah. They updated theirs, so when my new shirts come out, the new logo.
I made a promise. I made a promise to their marketing department. I'm not going to be changing the logo for a long time now. So this is the logo. This is the one we're going with. So Rick Glover designed that logo. Man, it really brings us up, I think, to another level, right? The old logo is super cool. Don't take anything away from it. The old logo is cool, but, you know, when you put this one up against MotoGP and FIM and Road to America, you know, Road to MotoGP and Moto America, man, the logo stands out. And now when you see it, you know, MiniGP is MiniGP. So we're there, and I feel like we're there. I know that we're there. I can confidently say that we're there. And if you don't know who we are, well, you better find out who we are, because those kids are coming and they're spreading. So I'm excited. I'm super, super excited.
Absolutely. And big shout out to Rick Glover, because hey, he did our logo too, our new one. So yeah, he's absolutely proper guy, man. Yeah. It's awesome seeing, you know, the family, especially the background of you and the business with SFL Mini, how family oriented it is. And it's that's what, to me, what sets it apart too, the uniqueness of it, right? Yeah. It's not what I want to say. It's first funded by you first and foremost until you started growing and growing and growing, right?
We started with a Honda Ridgeline and 250s. That's what we started with back in early 2016. January of 2016 was our very first event. My guys up in New Jersey MiniGP came down with their rentals to help. And from there, we've gone to the point to where now I've got a 32-foot trailer with 25 bikes in it. I've got gear for every size and manageable you can think of, and everything else in between. So it's been a lot of growing in the past 7 going on to 8 years, but it's been a smart growth. It's been intelligent growth. It's been a gradual growth, and we've been able to keep up and keep doing what we do from day one. So that's the good news about it for sure.
Absolutely. It's good. Yeah, it's wonderful. I can't tell it, man. I tell everybody all the time, obviously, but yeah, dude. So listen, dude, 8 years running, man. I know you come. Let's go 2023 season first and foremost, right? So 2023 season was proper for SFL MiniGP. You had some champions that were championships again within the series, and then obviously the standout from Avery. So yeah, congratulations, Mike.
Thank you. Yeah, man. 2023 numbers wise was really good. We grew the grids, we grew the families in attendance, we grew the new riders. Adding that dual weekend with a new rider session in our track days on the Saturdays. I was nervous. I wasn't sure if people were going to feel like they're being excluded from the group. I wasn't sure if people were going to be like, oh crap, the only way I can get coached is if I'm a new rider. And I'm glad that program and the way we built our weekends really welcomed a lot of people to come on. And it wasn't that pressure like, oh crap, if I'm going to ride SFL, I have to race. Well, no, that's why we went to the 2 days. You can come out just on Saturday. You don't have to ride Saturday in order to run Sunday. You don't have to run Sunday in order to run Saturday. If you want to come out and just play at the track and hang out with your friends and do a track day, Saturday's there. If you want to get coached, you know, coaching is there on Saturday. Sunday's race day. I mean, it is what it is. It's race day. You qualify in your race. So if you wanted to come out and race, that's what Sunday was for. So the dual weekends went really, really good. You know, it was another moment where my wife and I sat down and I said, all right, are we going to roll the dice? Because when you're doing 2 days, now you're doubling up all your costs, right? You're there for 2 days. You're paying double the rent, double the insurance, double the people that are coming out, double the EMTs and everything else that shows up for a track day. So, you know, it was a risk. We rolled the dice, but I think our families are enjoying, you know, being there the full weekend instead of having to arrive on a Sunday morning, hang out for 6 hours, pack everything up and go home. I mean, that becomes tedious for everybody. So you show up on a Friday night, you camp up, you set up your tent, you hang out all weekend, and then Sunday you pack up your stuff, you go home. It's a bit more relaxing. It's not so rushed, and the families are gravitating to it because it's working, right? Clearly it's working. People are enjoying, they're coming out. So 2023 was a strong year for the championship. It was a strong year for new riders. And then outside of the championship, it was really strong for our kids and our alumni, what I like to call them anyway, our alumni, moving out and moving on, with Avery Dreyer finishing, championship of the Junior Cup in Moto America. Julian Correa finishing P5 in the British Talent Cup. Isaac was new to Moto America, so he got introduced to Moto America last year. Logan Cunnison, also first timer going out to Moto America, so he was a rookie in Moto America. Andrew Way got his feet wet later in the year in New Jersey with Moto America, so he'll be full-time into 2024. Ella Dreyer is going out this year, 2024, also going to be a rookie for Moto America. And then outside of that, just MiniGP alumni with the kids from New Jersey. You got Gus Rodeo, who almost won the Twins Cup championship. Joe Lamondre out there. You've got Brandon Posh. We all know what Brandon Posh, who he is, what he does. Brandon Posh, also MiniGP alumni. PJ Jacobson had a really strong year in Superbike. He's also alumni. Tyler Scott, also an alumni from New Jersey. I'm Anthony Mazziato, also an alumni. Stefano Mesa has been in and out of MiniGP ever since he's been a kid, so he's also had a really, really strong year last year. I'm sure I'm missing so many other kids, but there's a lot of them, man. There's a lot of them. I remember, I think last year for one of the Moto America races, I literally wrote down, I went through every single one of the grid sheets, and I wrote down every single freaking rider, and I hit them out, and I literally filled up a piece of paper. I filled up an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper of all the MiniGP kids. So, I'm not the one who started MiniGP. Ryan Fleming and Nathan Granoff up north are the ones who started it. I fell into it and I brought it down to South Florida, and I've been able to build, what we've built today. But we're fortunate. We're fortunate to have MiniGP on the East Coast. There's other MiniGP organizations around, the USA, but they're not structured like us. They're not built like us. They're more than welcome to be. I mean, everything is public knowledge. You can head into our website and see how we do everything and what happens. But, I don't understand the reluctativeness of building a unified, mini series front and kind of keep everything. So whether someone's traveling from the Midwest to California or from Kansas to New Jersey, wherever they go, they know where their bike fits, what classes they're going into, and everything's the same. Ideally, my 5-year, 10-year plan would be to have that, to no matter what mini organization you went to across the globe, they were all run the same. They all looked the same. So everything was the same. And I put my foot down and I raised my hand and I said, hey, clearly what we do is working. So feel free to copy and go about what you want to do. If you want that MiniGP in your name, well, let's have a conversation and figure out what that means to you. But, the information is there. It's there. And actually the guys, Southeast Mini Moto, they started really small a couple of years ago. This year they branched out to some bigger tracks that we've been to before. But I live in South Florida, man. I've run that whole Southeast region, the 12-hour, the 14-hour one-way road trips to get MiniGP to other regions of the United States. And it wasn't financially feasible. It wasn't mentally feasible. It wasn't physically feasible. Driving home on a Sunday for 14 hours to get up and go to work the following day isn't fun for anybody. So I'm glad those guys are starting to branch out. They're starting to do, nice big things, big events, proper events in their area. They take a lot of what we do in MiniGP. So I'm excited for them, and clearly it's working. So 2023 was good. 2023 was good. Another influence for us on 2023 was Chris Glandon. You had him on your podcast, a handful of weeks ago, and Chris kind of jumped into that market that I don't have the time to. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to. If I did, I'd be in there with him in the trenches. So I'm glad he's got the time and the opportunity to be able to get the new riders out, whether it's riders for the street. A lot of his stuff is concentrated around street riding and being a safer rider on the street. Some of them translate over to SFL and have made it over to the races. So, you know, a lot of that new rider impact has come from what he does. So big congrats to him. I know initially I got a lot of messages saying, hey, who's this Chris Glandon guy? What's he doing with minis? You know, is he starting to come into your territory? And it's like, guys, that's not my personality, right? It's not my personality. I like competition. I like getting pushed and thrown into different realms to kind of inspire new things to come out. But Chris has always been genuine from the front. You know, he always reached out from the beginning, said, hey, this is what I want to do. This is my plan. And he's executed it. He's executed it really, really well. One of his coaches is George. George has been one of our coaches for a really, really long time. They live in a part of Florida where our racetracks are. You know, for me to get to a racetrack, it's 4 hours. For him, it's 30 minutes. So he's in the sweet spot to be able to do exactly what he's doing. He's got a massive parking lot now that he's cleaning up to be able to do for his drill. So that's just going to attract more people. And at the end of the day, you know, whether your riders are coming to Mini GP or they're going anywhere else, we get people on motorcycles. That's great for the sport at the end of the day, right? The only way you become a millionaire in this sport is if you started off as a billionaire. So it's definitely not a money thing. I can guarantee
Ain't that a fact, brother, man? Yes.
Let me make that perfectly clear. My home was not built by Mini GP. Let me say that right there, okay? I have a job. I have a career. I have many degrees and licenses and diplomas. My home is not built on Mini GP. Mini GP might take my home, but it didn't build my home. That's for sure.
At least two mortgages, right? Yeah, refinances. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. So, you know, it's more for the love of the sport. It's more of turning the hobby into a passion. And then, you know, eventually it became a business, and the business is doing really well. So I can't complain. 2023 was a fantastic year for sure.
A proper year. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Many champions, many previous champions that retained their championship. But, dude, you know, I would love to be able to see like a bunch of the Mini GPs throughout the whole country of the United States. Every champion, whatever, the 110, the 190, blah, 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 blah. And then everybody come together for one big SFL mini blowout championship, right? That would be super cool.
Yeah, and so we've had a lot of those conversations. The real problem, Chris, is how big this country is, right?
Yeah.
So in order to try and do a one centralized championship, it's going to cost some families more than it's going to cost others. And at the end of the day, our goal has always been to be feasible to all the families of America, right? So in my mind, right, if I was to do it, you'd have, you know, a Southwest Mini GP, you'd have a Northwest Mini GP, you'd have a Central South, Central North, you'd have a Southeast with us and a Northeast with New Jersey. And, you know, all those conglomerates are all running the way everything runs, has organized. You guys all have, you know, your championships for the year, and those guys own those regions. There's no feasible way of making a national mini series in the United States without segregating the families that can't cover the cost. You know, if I have to drive from Florida to Washington, that's 32 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? One way. And that right there is going to blow out 70% of people's budgets to be able to run that championship. So why do it? Yes, it's a great in theory. Yes, motocross does it in one way, but you're also talking motocross, right? You're talking tons of backing, tons of money, tons of stuff. If there's sponsors that want to step up and say, dude, I love the idea, you know, here's $100,000 to be able to feed these families to get them out, done. That's a different story. Then we funnel the money and we get to and we make it happen. But if it's going to be off of people's backs and pockets, you've got to make it regional enough to where you're attracting enough kids to push each other, but then not having a parent worry about, oh shit, my son's doing really, really well. My daughter's doing really, really well, but I can't afford that trip to Washington. I can't afford that trip to New Jersey. And then what do? Now that kid is secluded. Now the kid is like, oh, well, I've done everything I've needed to do. Why can't I go to the championship? And then mom and dad have to be like, well, we can't afford it. And, you know, if our country was just the size of Florida or just the size of Spain or just the size
of UK,
Italy, you know what I mean? Easy. It's 4 to 6 hours either way, and you knock it out. It takes me 5 hours to get to Florida alone, right? So you have to understand the big picture. And I know a lot of people don't understand it. And I know a lot of people have tried. And it's not going to be successful until you're able to seclude all the different regions because of how freaking big we are and say, okay, these are the champions. They are who they are. And you keep your regional championship. There's until we have that kind of money pocketed from sponsors to say we will pay for families to get to a national championship, it doesn't make sense to run one. It doesn't do it. It doesn't. And being in the sport outside of being a promoter, being a father, I know what it takes to be the father of a rider. I know what it takes to be the father of 2 riders because both of my kids ride. And if I got to cover that kind of cost to be able to run nationally versus stay local and have my kids get more seat time, I'm going to pick having my kids get more seat time just because I'm going to get more out of it. Right. That's my mentality.
And they will too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So our country, as great as it is, it's negative is how freaking big it is for this sport anyway. You know what I mean? Yeah. For this sport. So that
you're right.
It's just something we've got to deal with, and it'll take time, right? It'll take time. I see it happening, whether I'm included and I'm part of it happening, or I've turned the keys over to someone else and someone keeps the flag going and it happens. I see it happening. It's just, it's gotta be financially smart for the families to be able to do it. And at the end of the day, if the families can't do it, then what's the point?
110%. Speaking of finances in the sport, man, how expensive is this? You're a dad. You got 2 kids that are racing, right? So let's go over how expensive the sport is and tell people what the cost really is and all that good stuff that goes along with it.
Sure. So, my previous life was a soccer player. So I've gone through the ball sports, right? I've played Olympic development. I played D1 in college. So I've done all the multiple levels of what soccer is. I was raised by a single mom, 2 boys working 2-3 jobs just to be able to feed us. And luckily the sport that we fell into isn't a sport that's relatively expensive. It's cheap compared to motorsports. So for the families, when they come in, when they come into the sport, when they come into our events, we are the cheapest form of this sport. Believe it or not, we are. Outside of that, once you start growing the ranks, everything has a cost. Everything has a cost. Everything has a value. Tires aren't cheap. Race fuel isn't cheap. Leathers aren't cheap. The machine isn't cheap. If you want a competitive machine, finding the proper mechanics isn't cheap. You need a suspension guy. You need a tuning guy. You need this guy. You need that guy, right? All of it becomes overwhelming sometimes, right? So you're like, okay, fine, I'll pay a team. Okay, well, a team isn't going to be cheap, right? Because you're still paying for all that, and the team needs to make profits so that they can keep going. Okay, well, I'm going to run a lad and dad team. Okay, fine. You can run a lad and dad team up until a certain point, and at that point, you're not going to be competitive anymore because you're missing those other pieces, right? So the sport isn't cheap. I want to make that perfectly clear. It is motorsports, just like any type of motorsport. Motorsport is not cheap. So when you enter this sport, when you enter the reality that you start to find after you get, through the butterflies and the excitement, you really need to sit down and kind of plan what path you want to take. And there is no wrong path, right? You don't have to become a professional. You don't have to be engulfed in it throughout your entire life. You don't have to have it ruin your life, because I've met many, many families that have just thrown everything into it and have lost it, because at one point the rider, who's the most important factor of it all, says, no, this is too much pressure. I ain't doing this. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go hang out with my boys. Okay, well, now what do? You took out a second mortgage. You bought all this stuff. You've got all this stuff sitting around. And the guy who's supposed to be using it, whether it's a female or a male, they don't want to ride anymore because it's too much pressure, right? You can't do that to the rider. I don't care how old they are. I don't care if there's 5 years old, 15 years old, 25 years old. When they feel there's enough pressure in the sport to be competitive, to have to feel the pressure from the home to be competitive as well, right? So coming from a father of an international racer and a young racer, if I'm sitting here feeding onto Julian saying, hey, you have to go win these races. You have to go win this championship because I've done all of this. Well, do you think he's going to be thinking about anything else besides, oh shit, I got to fulfill dad? He's not thinking about his riding. He's not thinking about what he's doing. He's not thinking about his racing. He's freaking out because now he made a mistake somewhere and, oh shit, now I fell behind the ball. Now what am I going to do? It's not fun, right? So you have to sit down with your family. You have to sit down with your budget. And that's one of our building blocks is planning. When you come out to our 3-day camp, we talk about our building blocks. And one of those building blocks is planning. And if you can't be honest with yourself and your family and say, hey, this is what we have allocated in this bucket for this. This is what we have allocated in this bucket for this. We can't go outside those buckets. So either we find other ways of filling in the buckets, or this is the box that we're staying in, you got to be honest with yourselves, because or else you're going to drive yourself crazy. Oh man, but I don't have enough money in this bucket and my kid's the next Rossi. Okay, well, let me explain something to you. There's many, many next Rossis that are sitting at home right now because the parents didn't understand the plan, the budget, didn't allocate what they needed to allocate, and lost it all. So whether your kid's the next Rossi or not, it's going to be a long time before someone figures it out. And they're not going to figure it out when he's 5. They're not going to figure it out when he's 15. They're not going to figure it out until you make it to the world stage. And making it to the world stage is not easy. Making it into the paddock in Motor America is a little easier, but it's also not easy to be found and, turned into one of those racers that actually gets paid to race, because there's very, very few and far in between in those racers. So my opinion, my experience is you really need to sit down with your family, sit down with your racer, understand your expectations, understand what those expectations cost, understand how much of those expectations you can fund. And at that point, you know what you got to go find, right? Hey, it's going to cost us $30,000 this year for you to go racing. Mom and dad can cover 10. We need to find 20. Cool. Go cut lawns, go door to door, knock on the pizzerias, the local dentists, the lawyers, whatever. Say, hey, $100, $500, start picking up money to put into those pockets, because you're not going to send out your resume to 2,000 emails and expect someone to cut you a $10,000 check, because you, along with 1,000 other people, are doing the same exact thing. You're just a number. It's not going to happen. So some of the racers get lucky and that whale comes into their life and takes care of a lot of the costs and they're able to go out and play. There's many more racers that don't get out of where they're at right now just because they don't have the budget or finances to do it. And then you've got the people in between that kind of teeter-totter that line, just about failure, just about, progression, where they kind of just carry through, and dad gets burnt out, mom gets burnt out, little brother gets burnt out because now little brother's not getting the love. It's all about the 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And it happens in my house. I'll admit it. It happens in my house. Julian takes 90% of the attention in this house. There, I said it. It's out in the open. Julian takes 90% of the attention in this house because of where he is currently, right? It sucks to say that as a dad. It sucks to say that as a coach. It sucks to say that as a family member, but it's true. I don't give, and we don't give Grayson the amount of time that we've given Julian. And Grayson's a fantastic rider. Grayson can hop on a bike. And the good thing I'm fortunate enough with Grayson is I can sit there, I can coach and teach him. And in 15 minutes, he's doing exactly what I told him to do. So I'm able to progress him quicker to catch up. But dude, if I literally split myself 50-50 at this point, Grayson would be a better rider than Julian. 110%. He would be. He has that personality and that characteristic. But Julian right now is a very, very crucial point in his career, right? It's the year. It's his strong year. He's the right weight. He's the right age. He's the right strength. He fits everything the right way. He's done all the right training. His mindset's in the right place. Coach Mike Torres has done amazing things with him. So the mini GP program, that building block of planning is a long-term thing, man. It's not, you have to plan the months, you have to plan the years, you have to plan the decades if you want to plan out that far, but you really have to plan out. And there's so many aspects to this sport, which makes it expensive also, right? Because as a mom and a dad, you're going to talk to your kid one way, but then the coach is going to talk to him a different way. And a mentor is going to talk to him a different way. And he's going to listen about here. He's going to listen over here. He's going to listen over here. And he's going to ignore the shit out of his parents because parents don't know what the hell they're talking about, right? And I see it. I see it in the paddock. I see it with the kids in the paddock. And that's the other part that I love about our paddock. So many members that we have turned into coaches because they know how to talk to the racers, right? I've had many racers reach out and say, hey, I'm willing to go coach if you give me some free seat time. I'm not interested in giving you free seat time if you don't know how to coach the kids, right? So if you want to put the effort in, if you want to volunteer your time and you want to come out and spend it with the kids and see if you know how to coach the kids, then we can have a conversation. But I've been really, really fortunate with a lot of the adult members of our community to step up to coach because they're an extension of me. They've seen me do so much of the coaching early on that they've been able to see what works. And sure, I have the in the eyes of the kids, I'm like the coach, right? Let's say, without, playing my fiddle too much, but I'll walk up to a kid and I'll give a kid correction and a kid will react to it quicker because it's coming from me. But the coaches that we have in the paddock are an extension of me. The kids are realizing that because I'm giving them that kind of power to be able to go out and coach. Scott Cunnison, Logan's dad, military, strong voice, strong, deep, powerful voice. You're either going to adapt to what Scott's telling you, or you're going to go back and cry to mom and dad. And both have happened, right? Some kids aren't used to that strong, male, deep, commanding voice that Scott has. Other kids react to it through fear, right? Their initial reaction is, oh shit, I need to do what he does because I think he's going to kill me. And then you have other kids that lack that kind of structure, so they adapt to it real quick, right? And Scott's our drill master. I mean, he's a drill sergeant. Scott will set up drills at our events, and you hear him. I mean, there could be 450s on the track, bro, and you hear Scott. You hear him, get lower, head to wrist, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, yo, who is Scott hollering at, dude? Like, who is he yelling at? And he's yelling at a 5-year-old on a 50, and the kid's like, you know what I mean? And then you look behind your back, and there's another 5-year-old crying to mom and dad because Coach Scott yelled at him. So, there's different flavors in the paddock, but it's going back to your question. You got to plan. You know what I mean? You got to plan. As a family of a racer, you've got to plan. You've got to know what you can put out. And if you want to save a bucket for stretching a certain cost just to see, then that's what wall cards are for, right? If you put a wall card option together, pay the money for a wall card, see where the kid stacks up. We did it, right? We did it in the BTC. We want to see if it was worth taking the jump and do it. And wall cards are fantastic for that. So there's a lot of options. There's a lot of moving parts in the sport to be able to get you to certain levels. None of it is going to be cheap. I promise you, if you take a shortcut, it's going to be short-lived. There is a path, there is a method, there's a way of training, there's a way of racing, there's certain steps you need to take. And Gus Rodeo's dad, Kevin, from Rodeo Racing, him and I are like this when it comes down to that concept. Oh, I think last year, 2 years ago, no, last year, Gus almost wins the championship. All right. And Kevin starts getting overwhelmed with text messages. Hey, when's he jumping on a 600? When's he doing a super sport? We should put him on a stock 1000. The kid's big. The kid's fast. And Kevin's like, bro, hold on. Right. I'm not the one that's doing it. Gus is doing it. If Gus wants to hop back on a twin, Gus is going to hop back on a twin. If he wants that championship, we're going to go get that championship. Right. So there's a lot of influence in this sport too. There's a lot of people that throw a lot of information at you. Right. You're going to have the positives. You're going to have the negatives. Again, you got to go back to your planning. You got to go back to, this is what we set aside. This is our path. If we're going to try something, let's try it, but we got to come back to our path. And this is the route. And I promise you, that's going to work a lot better than just throwing darts in the dark and be like, okay, let's go do this. And when the bank gets to zero, we'll cry about and figure out how to do it again. That's not fun for anybody either.
No. And when you do it like that, you lose the passion.
Oh, yeah.
Too. Somewhere along the way, you're like, man, fuck this shit. Yeah, absolutely.
Can you imagine driving 8 to 10 hours to a racetrack and being pissed off that you don't even have the money to put gas in, or you're going to have to run your kid on ragged ass tires just because you guys didn't set your budget ahead of time? Now you're putting people in danger, right? There's too many risks already in the sport to add other risks for poor planning.
That's a fact. And speaking of all that, being a parent in the sport, being a coach in the sport, I know you come across a lot of egotistic parents within the paddock, right? So how do you handle that situation or overcome that, I should say?
So early on in the championship, I used to be a lot more involved with what I saw in the paddock. And eventually it ended up not turning out to what I thought, because then the parents started using me as their scapegoat. And that's not what I need the kids thinking about when they're coming to the racetrack, right? So for the most part, if I see a situation with a parent not addressing the child the way I think he should be addressing, I tend not to step in immediately. I kind of let them, do what they do, whatever. And then we kind of have a sidebar conversation and they either learn from that conversation or, you know, at the end of the day, they're the parent, it's their child. You know, you're at my event, so I'm going to selectively and respectfully ask you to act a certain way in my paddock. But once you leave my paddock, there really isn't, you know, much for me to do. Parents do tend to hurt the sport more than the kids, right? Sometimes parents live through their kids, and that is not a good thing. I think you need to let your child figure themselves out at their own pace. Some kids are going to learn quicker than others. This sport activates a lot of your cognitive activities in your brain. Some people's brain don't adapt to it as quickly as others. That doesn't mean they're not going to be fast. That doesn't mean they're not going to be competitive. It just means they may not be competitive right now. And I think parents take a small glimpse of spark and say, oh shit, my kid's got it. And then once a parent turns that switch on, and now they start just pounding it in, and the kids aren't going to have fun. You're going to burn your kids out. And if you don't burn your kids out, you're going to get them hurt, because they're going to be pushing way beyond their boundaries to make you happy, and you're going to hurt them. They're going to crash. They're going to high side. They're going to get hurt. Our kids, I'm going to say from 5 to at least 16, I'm going to say, are probably more interested in satisfying their parents' happiness than what's actually going on the racetrack. Yeah, they love winning the race and it's exciting for them. They high five their friends, but once they win the race, that's it. That whole aspect is out. And now they're looking at their parents like, okay, did I do everything he wanted me to do? Is he or she happy? Did I make it worthwhile for them? And when you get to that point, it's really, really difficult to get out. I did it as well as a parent, you know, trying to understand going through the sport, being new to the sport. And again, I was a soccer player, right? So I kind of knew that world. I didn't know this world very much. So early on, I didn't know how to talk to Julian. I didn't know how to talk to Grayson. And there was a lot of arguments back and forth on how I was teaching them, how I was coaching them. And then I had to bring other people in to help because I couldn't figure it out. So as a parent, your ego needs to stay in check, right? They're the ones on the motorcycle. They're the ones in the race. They're the ones riding the bike. They're the ones enjoying the sport. You need to pull yourself out of that, and you need to enjoy the sport as a spectator. Provide what they need, make sure they're fed, make sure they're drank enough water, make sure their bikes are good, clean, ready to go. Once they leave you and once they come back, the conversations between the parents and the riders needs to be energetic. They need to be fun. They need to be exciting. Oh, did you see I messed up in that turn? Yeah, you messed up in the turn. What did you do? How did it happen? What can we do to fix it? Let's go ask a coach. Let's find out what kind of drills we can do at home, right? Always be the solution. Don't be the problem. Don't be the negative. They already know they messed up, man. They already know they screwed up. They already know they lost it. They already know they won it. Whatever the situation is, they already know. Their main focus is making sure that you are happy with what they did because they want to satisfy you. And if you squash that feeling in them, if you burst that bubble that every time they come off the track, you've got something negative to say, or you're smashing on them verbally, or, you know, you're letting out your emotions for something that you had no control over, you're not going to have fun. And if you're not going to have fun, then what are you going to do? You're going to have an upset child at home. You're going to have an upset household. And now you're carrying it past the weekend into the week. Who wants to deal with that during the week? Nobody does. So for the parents, and I know we've said it in our first thing, you got to have fun. They're not going to get signed as a contract in MiniGP, I promise you. They're not going to get signed out of a contract in CCS or WERA or Pan Am. The only time it matters is when they're being paid. At that point, they need to be competitive. They need to be performing. They need to be satisfying a job, just like we do. If you go to work and you don't do your job, guess what? You get fired and you ain't getting paid. Up until that point, your child does not need any additional pressure from home at all. At all. Let them have fun. Let them enjoy the sport. All of you need to be enjoying the sport. Again, this sport is already too damn risky, too expensive as it is, not to have fun and enjoy it. Some of the best parts for me now is driving to the racetracks. I enjoy just being in the car with my two turds, driving to the racetrack, or hopping in the car with the family and dogs and going to the MiniGP events. My most fun is in the vehicle on the way to the event. Because we bullshit. We hang out. We talk. You know, during the week, yeah, we're home. We have dinner together every night. But we don't really get to hang out because I'm either in the garage working on stuff, or I'm doing work on the laptop, or Sassy's dealing with nursing stuff, or the boys are doing homework. So you don't really get to, bullshit as much as you would really want to. My drives to the racetracks are all bullshit. We're jamming the music. We're watching comedy shows. We're talking shit. I'm busting the kids' balls. I'm messing around with Sassy. Like, it's fun, right? You have to have fun. And I know it's hard to do when you're trying to live through your kid and your kid's not satisfying those ticks, right? But you got to remove that. You really, really got to remove that.
Absolutely well said. It's great advice for all the other parents out there for sure in this sport. I've seen it on track days too myself, Mike, where dude, parents will just go ballistic. And I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, this is not the way to approach it. Like, what you did is you hurt your kid in way more ways than you actually realize you did. Now he don't want to come back. He's like, nope, I ain't going back. Especially my parents are going, right?
Yeah. No.
Yeah, dude. It's
why am I going to go to a racetrack if my dad's just going to get pissed off? Or why am I going to a racetrack if my mom's just going to hound everybody? Like, that's not fun for anyone, dude.
It's absolutely, it's not. It's really not. And then, dude, listen, we're Mike's got to be out of here in like 19 minutes. And man, we still got a lot to talk about. So listen, part 3 will be coming up. But Mike, where do you see the direction of the future of our sport?
So motorcycle road racing, I think, is still pretty far away from what motocross is in the United States. We have to crack the code and figure out how to attract the brands and the financing to get value to our sport. If you're a dirt bike racer and you make it to Supercross, you're making pretty damn good money. If you're a basketball playing kid and you make it through college and you make it to the NBA, you're going to be making pretty damn good money. Same thing with all the other ball sports. Road racers, you're not making a lot of money in the sport. And if you are making money, you might as well still stay single to enjoy that money, because once you grow a family, that money's not going to last very long. So we need to crack that code. We need to figure out how to get the factories back in. We need to figure out how to get those major sponsorships in. We got to figure out how to get these other companies in through marketing for the sport. And, we're doing a very, very small part by growing it and getting, butts to seats. But yet, a lot of people well, now you got baggers showing up. Well, baggers are bringing in the audience, man. You got to bring people back in. You got to attract people. So until we crack that code, I don't see road racing blowing up the way motocross does. And that's even in the world championship, right? When you have a Moto2 rider who's paying $800,000 for his ride coming either out of his pocket or personal sponsors, there's a problem. There's a problem in the world championship if people are still buying seats, right? So I think we're still pretty far away from saying road racing is a financial benefit to a professional. And I don't know what that answer is. Moto America has done a great job with bringing this sport back into the United States and doing what it does for the sport here. But I don't know how to bring it back to what it was like in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I don't know. When you pull the cigarettes and the alcohol, all those big companies that have the big money, when you pull those out and, the factories aren't selling bikes because the economy is stupid and, people are struggling to buy homes, they're not going to go buy motorcycles, right? So I think it's a big overall problem that's not going to get solved in 1 year, 5 years, or maybe not even 10 years. But the quality of road racers that are coming out now is better. We're seeing a lot more kids shooting out to Europe to test in Europe and get pushed, by the talent pool that is in Europe. Again, our country's too big. Our country's too big to put all those kids together and make them race together, because it's going to cost some families more than others. So if you can go to Spain and you can be in a championship where you have Spanish riders and you're being pushed and you're learning, you're going to come back even stronger than when you left. So I do see an influx in a lot of families starting to plan, a Europe-based route, which is fantastic to see. A lot more American flags out there. And I think that'll help, right? If one of those or two of those or three of those Americans break through that European paddock and become successful, I think it's going to spark a lot more interest in the sport from the American side, right? Because we haven't had an American champion since Nikki Hayden, right? Joe Roberts has been in the paddock for a really, really long time, but he hasn't been able to do that big thing either. So until we start showing that Americans are strong in the sport, can go out to Europe and showcase and perform and win, it's going to be tough to transform the sport. Because you send the, USA, NBA goes to the Olympics, they fucking wipe the ground with everybody. So it's massive. Same thing with baseball, same thing with soccer. Soccer isn't that strong yet, but it's getting stronger, right? They're a global powerhouse, you would say now. To golf, right? We're the biggest thing in golf. So where's all the money go to? It goes into golf. And now you've got Dubai with Live and all this other stuff with golf, right? So if Americans don't show that they're a powerhouse in the sport, it's going to be tough to bring that money in.
No, I can't agree more. You hit the nail on the head as far as cigarettes, alcohol, dude, everything you said, you were absolutely right. The golden days, right, where people were making like $1 million, Matt Milan and all them. I mean, I'm assuming, right, at least 500 grand easily. They
were making plenty of money to live comfortably and still not have a job today. Let's say that.
Facts, right? If that don't say a lot, it's yeah, man. Listen, we're coming up on 10 minutes left of this almost, so I want to get away from all the motorcycles. I want to get into some more personal stuff. But listen, I appreciate everybody that's I've seen all your guys' comment. I hadn't had a chance to
any good ones before you go to my personal stuff. Any good ones? Anything that I can light the fire with? Because I know we wanted to let the public in, dude. Any good ones? Pick some good ones. I can extend. We can extend to 4:15. Let's extend to 4:15. Let's get the public in.
All right, let's see. Listen, if anybody's watching, dude, and you want to come on live and ask Michael Correa a question, hit me up on Facebook Messenger, and I'll shoot you the link. And you can join us and ask away. So let's see.
Pick some good ones.
All right, I'm gonna start from the beginning. I can't see some of them for some reason, but Chris Gladden says, "What's up?" Carrie says, "It's been awesome watching what you have done since day one."
Carrie and her husband were coaches since day one, bro. They were helping me around with little kids from day one. Then they went off on their hiatus to have their own babies. And now they're back, and their oldest baby got on the track and is racing with us since 2023, dude. So full circle there.
Yeah, and she also said wooden spoon with a bunch of laughing emojis, which is awesome. I was laughing at that. And then we have a comment that says maybe try to put together a national race, I guess, for SFL Mini, which would be awesome. But again, the cost.
Yeah, we went through that already.
Yeah. Let's see. Absolutely couldn't have said it better. I had the realization where we can balance attention, effect, resources. Scott is angry Santa, Rick. I love it, dude. Rick does say one key thing I have learned is that we can have fun and fulfilling life racing just minis. That allows us realistically evaluate where we go next.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rick and I have had many of those father-to-father conversations on how to set up and where the kids go. And Rick's one of those dads that has a good head on his shoulders. He realizes, the current capacity of what his child is able to do. And I appreciate that coming from another dad, understanding, where their child is, not is their child meeting their expectations. So Rick is a really, really good example of that.
Yeah, he also says Coop knows that one day he feels if his racing for me is the day we need to stop. We discuss this at least once a month. You're right. It's very important if your child just says, I'm done. That's it. You be done. Exactly. And when in the future he says, hey, I just want to, get back into SFL, but I don't want to take anything too serious. And absolutely.
That's an absolute option for sure.
Yeah, you got to you got to let them live through their own dreams, not your own too, for sure. CJ Cohen, what is up, my man? He says, speak it, Michael Correa. Jason Wingler, my daughter lives 30 minutes from Jerez. Lucky.
Oof.
Right?
Yeah.
Dude. David Gonzalez said that's why the North American Talent Cup failed.
That's exactly why, unfortunately. Yep.
Yeah,
it's too difficult, man. It's too big of a country to travel, and like I said, you isolate too many families because of that cost of travel. It's too difficult. You have to divide the country up and leave it as worst case scenario. If you just have a West Coast champion and East Coast champion, if that's what you get to, then that's what you get to. But it's got to be divided up. You can't have one champion, because that champion won't be a true champion because all the riders that were secluded due to the cost weren't part of that race.
Yeah, facts, man. 100%. Question: Rick Glover says, for the both of us, what would you change in MA if you were in charge?
Ooh, the travel one, right? So we can go back to that. If I was MA, with their power, their outreach, their financial prowess, let's say, my championship with MA would be that you would have 4 regions with 4 champions, and those 4 champions would be segregated to their regions. I go back to, again, you can't have one national champion in this country because you're secluding out too many families. This is minis now. I'm not talking about 600 Superbike professional racing. I'm talking about minis. The families are the most critical part about this sport when it comes to minis. If you can't attract the families, if the families can't afford to come out and play, right? We're talking about minis. We're coming out to play, to learn, to have an experience. This is why Disney has Orlando and Disney has California, because they want to be able to get as many people as possible. So you can't expect people from California to come once a year to Disney in Florida, but you can expect them to go 3-4 times a year if they're already in their state or on that side of the country, right? So you have to understand from the big conglomerate companies how they do it, and then make it fun and feasible for the minis. Talking about minis, there's no real way of having a national mini champion with how big this country is. You can have 4, you can have 6 if you want to split up the central, but you can't have 1. And if I was Motor America, I would make sure that each region had their champion. Those champions would feel like champions because they tackled their region and they are that region champion. So that would probably be the biggest thing I would change if I was running MA.
Yeah, I agree, man. You got to cut expense for all the families, because if you keep it the way it's going, I kind of foresee, dude, you're weeding out so many Valentino Rossi's and Mark Marquez's out there that'll never, ever realize their full potential because of the money, right? I mean, not all bombs can have OnlyFans pages.
No,
let's just be honest, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, and I mean, if you're going to be a professional, then it's going to cost you money, right? How many racers go into the Daytona 200 this year, only race the Daytona 200 and don't chase the Motor America season? Because I think your fees to get into Daytona are $3,000 alone. Forget the amount of tires and fuel and everything else that you got to get to, and the travel and the bike prep, and you need a team to change your shit in the middle and your pit, and right. So there's a bunch of racers, right, that go to have fun at the Daytona 200, knowing full well they're not going to win, knowing full well they may not be competitive, but guess what? That is what they've planned and budgeted for an entire year to be like, okay, my bike is ready. I'm ready. My people are ready. My bike is there. And guess what? They could go do 5 laps and the motor blows.
Yeah.
Ain't no one going to give you your money back, baby. That's it. Nope. That's something out of your control. So
absolutely.
It goes back to the planning. It goes back to the planning, understanding who you are, what you're capable of, what your expectations are, what you can actually achieve, put money to all of it and say, okay, this is as far as I can get.
Yeah, you're right. And then Jason, actually on top of that, he says, plus the bike is only set up for Daytona 200, correct? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's certain set. You got quick, front, rear, gas tank fills, dude. Yeah, the whole spill. It's absolutely it is. And that alone is
just setting the bike up. Just setting the bike up. Just more. And CJ's right. TOBC is a perfect example. They only do 200 and they excel at it, right? I think they've got like 12 or 13 freaking Daytonas under their belt. So that is a team that is bred for just going to do Daytonas. And that's what they do. That's what they plan. That's what they do. They hire phenomenal racers to get onto their bikes. They've got fantastic pit crews and they succeed. That's what they plan for.
Yeah, and I can imagine, the cost just for TOBC, just for Daytona, it's got to be, I mean, realistically, I would assume $50,000 or more at least.
Easily.
Right? I mean, it's hard to tell. And that's just one race for 200 laps. That's, 57 laps. Yeah, that's 200 miles.
If you make it, 10-15% of the people don't even make it to the show because their bikes blow up.
Yeah. Or they forget their key. Don't forget your key.
anything and everything, or you have a crash where somebody takes you out, or it rains, or you got sick, or you got food poisoning, or you decided to drink too many beers the following day and you slept through it. Like, dude, so many things can happen, and it's just, it goes back to the planning, all of
it. Yeah, that's something we do need in our sport is lower cost, and but yeah, Mike, dude, this has been 55 minutes in. I know you got to run soon, man. And listen, so everybody, listen, we're gonna have a part 3 of this, so stay tuned.
We will.
There's so much more we got to talk about. But I want to get into a couple questions that I actually had from Michael away from racing, and that have actually been asking a lot of my guests. So I want to start out, obviously, I'm a huge soccer fan. I catch a lot of shit from my friends in America. They're like, oh, football. I'm like, nah, bro, your handball is not football. The real football is soccer, play with a black and white ball and you use your feet. That's what football is. But anyway, who's your favorite soccer player?
Cristiano Ronaldo, by far, gone. So I will admit, Lionel Messi is the GOAT. He has the World Cup. Cristiano Ronaldo does not. But if my style of play when I was growing up, he was always the player I wanted to emulate. And then second to him would be Carlos Valderrama. So those are my 2 soccer icons. Outside of that, I really enjoyed watching Mia Hamm play because she was hot. And I really enjoy watching, what's her name now? Who's the hot one now on the women's soccer team? There's another hot one.
There is. I can't think of her name now.
I can't think of her name either, but she's hot too. So I like watching her play. But outside of that, it was Cristiano Ronaldo and Carlos Valderrama.
Yeah. So mine is I like Ronaldo too, and Messi. Those are my top 2. And then, dude, I really like Neymar Jr.
Yeah.
Something about Neymar, dude, and Mbappe. Mbappe's my dude too, right? How can you not like Mbappe, man? He's such a character. All right, so books. I'm a big audiobook guy. Do you listen or read books?
I do not read a lot. I must admit, I don't read a lot. My favorite childhood book was Old Yeller, and recently I read Leathered by John Hopkins. So I really enjoyed reading Leathered. I tried reading the Dunlop story. It didn't grab me enough, so I didn't finish that one. I've read The Art of War. So a lot of the business books I read when I was in college and kind of doing that stuff, but none of those, I'm like, reading is great. Reading is powerful. You do need to read. I suck at it, but I'd say Leathered lately was a really, really good book by John Hopkins. And when I was younger, Old Yeller.
Dude,
Of Mice and Men was good too. That was
The Art of War. Every book you just said I've read, right? But to me, out of every book, as far as motorcycle racers go, fucking John Hopkins killed it, dude. Because he didn't hold shit back. He's like, I'm smoking weed, I'm riding a MotoGP bike high as shit. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? Really? Yeah. So, dude, that's what I love. I love people and their honesty. Like, don't bullshit about it. Let everybody know.
Exactly.
That's why I like these questions. That's why I ask my guests the personal questions, right? So listen, what's your favorite music, Mike?
I am a hip hop guy, 80s and 90s hip hop for sure. If you want to get me revved up going, 80s and 90s hip hop. If I'm feeling romantic and I'm trying to smooze the old lady, then I'll throw some R&B on. Usually on my drives from work after a long day, I'm listening to Michael Bublé. I'm listening to Bocelli. I'm listening to the Rat Pack. So I like that to kind of calm down.
Yes.
Lately, last 2 years, my wife's gotten me into country. So I dab in the country. I like the country a little bit. And when it comes to partying, man, reggaeton. Reggaeton, can't forget my Latin up roots, and reggaeton gets me going, and we're ready to go.
Dude, that's awesome. It's funny you said the Rat Pack, because I was just jamming the Rat Pack at work and a bunch of Frank Sinatra, and people are like, you listen to this? I'm like, dude, bro, are you kidding me, right? You don't know Frank, bitch? You better learn.
Yeah, very, very eclectic. A lot of it definitely on how I'm feeling. Thankfully, I've gotten enough different music to kind of get me in there. When I was younger, clubbing in Jersey and stuff, I was big into the whole disco and clubbing and tech. Never got into rock and roll, never got into heavy metal. I lie though. I really do lie, because by Walk-In song when I played at NJIT, my walk-in song was Disturbed, Down with the Sickness. So that was my walk-in song. That was my hype song for college. Outside of that, never really got into heavy metal or rock and roll and stuff. But that song, until the end, when he starts, talking shit at the end of the song, I kind of cut it off. But from the beginning to that final point, I'm good with the whole song.
Oh, good shit, dude. Good shit. All right. So Star Wars or Star Trek?
Neither.
Okay. All right. Good.
Never got into either one of them.
Okay. Nice.
Spaceballs. Spaceballs.
Dude,
I watched
that's
that
what I was getting. That's the shit right there, right? Absolutely, Spaceballs. Favorite food, Mike? Like your go-to, hands down. Like this is my. If you could have one dish for the rest of your life.
So my wife doesn't like when I say this, but when we grew up, we didn't grow up with a lot. And my dish for probably a good portion of my teenage year that my mom was able to do was scrambled eggs and Spanish rice. I mean, that's what we ate for dinner for many, 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 many nights. And I really don't get to have that dish a lot now. So if I had to and say for the rest of my life, what am I going to have? It'll be Spanish rice and scrambled eggs. Outside of that now, I like Italian food. I enjoy sushi. Grayson and I like sushi, so we go out on sushi dates every once in a while. So that makes it more fun for me to do. I like sushi, but if I had to pick a plate, it goes back to my mom and Spanish rice and scrambled eggs, man. That's what we had. That's what we could afford. It was good enough for us, and it got me to here. So I'll keep doing it.
Dude, that's awesome. And
my wife will crack jokes and be like, "Man, why do you act like such a poor dude when you say that?" I go, "I don't know. Sometimes I crave it. Sometimes I want it. I just want scrambled eggs and Spanish rice, man. That's it.
Done. Mama's food, man. Absolutely." Rick Glover says Mike loves spicy food and cheese.
I hate fucking cheese. I hate cheese. Spicy food, I'm all right with spicy food. It can't be stupid spicy. But cheese, bro, I can't stand cheese. I can't smell cheese. I'll have pizza, so I am weird. I will have pizza, but, mozzarella doesn't really have a lot of flavor. So anything that has mozzarella, like chicken parm, I'll eat chicken parm and stuff like that. But you're not going to see me sitting down and have a freaking brick of blue cheese or whatever other funky shit you guys eat. Nah, I'm good. The worse it smells, the more it makes me want to puke. I'm good. No.
So no blue cheese on your salad, huh?
Hell no. Blue cheese or ranch? Neither. Moving along.
That's it. All right. Celebrity crush, baby.
Oh, all right. So Jennifer Aniston, number one for sure. Outside of that, I've got a crush on Shakira. Blake. Yeah. Blake Lively. That's her name. Yeah. Blake. Ryan Reynolds' wife, Blake Lively. Yep, yeah. Blake Lively.
Salma Hayek, yes.
Beyonce. Oh, I take me some Beyonce. Yeah. And let's see, there's one more. Who else? Who am I missing? I'm missing someone. I'm sure my wife will end up telling me later. How could you forget? There is another one, but I can't remember who it is now.
Your hall for women. Yeah, I get them too.
That's it right there.
Yeah. So
I'm not like Jay Dexter not answering the question. I'm gonna answer the question.
Yeah, Jay.
Yeah, Jay.
Right? That's awesome. Listen, what advice would you give your younger self?
That is a great freaking question. I know exactly what I would tell myself. I would tell myself, don't spend so much time in college for the career path you took. And let me explain that. So being first generation American in my family, my parents are Colombian. So they migrated here and became citizens here. So I was the first child born here in the States. School was massive, right? People from those countries, they want you to go to school. They want you to go to college. They want you to become a professional. So that was instilled in me really, 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 really early on. So I went ahead, I got my bachelor's. I lied. I got a full scholarship to Lincoln Technical Institute where I got my drafting license. From there, I played D1 for New Jersey Institute of Technology. So I did construction management for my bachelor's. Then I decided to go into my master's and get my master's in business with a concentration in project management. None of those degrees have done anything for my career that my experience from being the step on all the way at the bottom to the VP that I am today have done anything for this type of career. So if I was to do it all over again, I would skip the college route because I am currently still $73,000 in debt, paying $600 a month for God knows how many more fucking years. And I graduated my master's in 13. Grayson was a year. So 2013, 2014 is when I graduated. So we're now 10 years in. And I've been paying that bill since I graduated from my bachelor's. So my bachelor's was 2006. Jesus. So I've been paying that bill for 14 years now, if not longer. And there's no end in sight because that fucking number doesn't drop. It's been $73,000 for as long as I can freaking remember. So if I was to do it all over again, I'd say F the college route. Don't do it. Get into the trenches. Learn in the field like I did anyway. And I would probably still be sitting where I'm sitting today. So not to say that college isn't needed. I think college for a certain route, lawyer, doctor, engineer, I think you do need to take the college route, and that degree is needed for that career path. But I'm a strong believer in getting dirty, getting your hands used, figure a different, if you want to be an entrepreneur, figure out something you love, make money on it. If you don't know what to do, get into the locals, go find an electrical company, mechanical company, plumbing company, get in there, be the dirt that they walk on, learn everything you can freaking learn, because it doesn't take much to start your own business. And once you start it and you start clients, man, the world is yours at that point. So I'm a big believer in, we need people who can use their hands and aren't afraid to get dirty. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, that shit ain't going to last forever. Yeah, it's peaking now and doing a bunch of shit. But if you don't know how to use your hands, if you're not instrumental to society, I don't think you're going to succeed, especially the way I think the world is going. So if I was to do it all over again, I wouldn't do the college route, and I would just stick to my plan.
Yeah, it's I see that's something that's wrong with our college, man. A lot of kids go to school and they get, like you said, $100,000 college bills. They don't even use what they do, and then they're in debt for the rest of their fucking life.
And I'm in the career that I went to school for, and I still can't fucking pay it off. So
right,
it doesn't make sense.
It absolutely, in the world, our direction our world's going in, this is a whole nother conversation, but it's yeah, absolutely. So listen, if you could eat dinner with 5 people, dead or alive, road racers, movie stars, whoever it is, what 5 people would they be?
So I would have dinner, and again, this is not politically at all. I like the business aspect of it. So if I could have dinner with 5 people, I would have Donald Trump at my dinner table. I would have damn, I knew you were going to ask this question, and I had them. I'd have Donald Trump at my table. I'd have why am I losing it right now? The producer from The Godfather. What's his name?
Oh
my God, I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, fuck, God damn it. Not Michael.
Okay, well, the producer from all those Italian gangster movies, I'd have him.
Yes.
I'd have Kobe Bryant. I'd have Michael Jordan, and I would have my grandfather.
Nice. Not Michael Scorsese.
There he is. Him.
Thank you, Rick. Absolutely.
So Donald and Scorsese would be the business talk. Michael Jordan and Kobe would be the leadership talk. And my grandfather would be make sure you stay on the right path as a man talk.
Yeah.
That's who would be at my table.
Dude, if I could have anybody, it'd be my grandma too, for sure. I miss her more than anything. So absolutely, dude.
Well, the grandfather, because my mom is adopted. So the guy that I knew as a grandfather, back in the day, they didn't have freaking TV. So he had, I think my mom's family is 7 girls and 6 boys. So he managed that entire household as a horse farmer and a coffee bean farmer in the mountains of Colombia that back in his day were riddled with, you know, the gangs and the cocaine wars and all that bullshit. And he kept that family through. His ranch is gorgeous, never got touched, never got demolished. Whatever he did, nobody fucked with him. And he'll never tell us what he did, but it's he's definitely one I would have at my table just to see if he would give me the secret. That he's got a pretty cool fucking story.
Nice, dude. Good stuff, man. So we actually had one question come in before I let you give your shout outs and we end this. 675 Dreamer says, any tips for getting my young children into riding?
If you're on the East Coast, find one of our mini GP locations. Both of us have everything you need to be able to get on the track. So our motto is to remove the excuses. So you don't have to worry about bikes, gear, coaching, any of that nonsense. We've got everything. So all you've got to do is show up and ride. If you're not on the East Coast, I know some of the other mini organizations kind of type it into your Google, you know, type in your state, type in minis or mini racing or motorcycle racing, see what comes up. Reach out to them, ask all the questions you need to ask. If they don't know how to answer those questions, feel free to reach out to me and I'll reach out to people. I have a lot of contacts to kind of help out and figure out where you should go and who's got the best setup for you. So I would highly suggest find a mini organization near you, get in there with them, figure out what they can offer you, how they can help you set up, and then go from there. Honestly, just have some fun.
Dude, you guys heard it there. So yeah, listen, Mike's got to go because he's got stuff he's got to do. So Mike, before we get off here, tell everybody where they can find you in SFL Mini, which you guys should already know because I say it all the time. Yeah. But just reassure them on how they can get, you know, all that.
Sure. No, I'll do that. Let me give my sponsors a little bit of
absolutely
time. So yes. for this year, we made a big switch, Spec 50. So Spec 50 for the last 7 years was sponsored by RI. This year we're sponsored by KYT. So big shout out to KYT for jumping aboard and taking over the Spec 50 class. Dunlop came on this year as well. Pirelli was sponsoring some of the kids classes last year. This year Dunlop stepped up and they're going to be taking care of the Spec 110 class and a handful of other classes. I'm still kind of working through it with them, but you know, Dunlop's got some big plans for mini GP and they want to kind of run a program like they run for motocross. So I'm excited for that program to get introduced to our kids. You got NV Leathers. NV's been doing a lot of the leathers down in the Southeast. He stepped up the last couple of years for the GP 110 class. I got DHM, David Hugh Motoring, and CGR Performance with Cameron Jones. I don't know why it took so long to get these guys into some of our classes. A lot of it is my fault. A lot of it is their fault because we never had the conversation, but they're here. They're sponsoring the F1 and the F2 classes this year. 73 Motor Parts, Bernan Hersai out of California. He's reached out. He's been wanting to get in with Mini GP. So we were able to put a program together for him to sponsor the Super Mini class. So big shout outs to them. And when I say sponsorship, you know, that word means a lot to different people. So I want to be perfectly clear. When I'm saying they're sponsoring Mini GP, there is no financial gain by me, myself, or my family. Anything that they are sponsoring goes directly to our family members. They do not provide money. This is all their top of the line products, massive packages that they put together because they know it's worth it for our family members and our racers. So anyone that does get their logo placed on our posters or gets announced as a sponsor for Mini GP, I promise you they are stepping up big time, providing amazing support and product for the champions of those classes. And I'm grateful and honored that they have reached out and wanted to do it through Mini GP. So big round of applause to them and congratulations on stepping up for the sport, stepping up for Mini GP. And all of our sponsorships, again, are 100% to the families. None of it comes to the organization. There's no financial impact to them on our end.
Man, you guys heard it first, dude. Listen, this has been an honor. I can't wait for part 3. Before we get off here, I got a couple things I got to say just real quick. Thank you for everybody. Sorry I didn't give everybody a shout out that's been watching. Man, me and Mike's just been going at it because there's been a lot we had to say.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate all you guys watching. Please go like and subscribe because it helps me out a ton, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, iHeart, all that. I always appreciate all the love and support for everybody out there. You guys know that. Big shout out to Michael Correa and that whole SFL mini GP. Like I always say, my man Juju this year, if you guys hadn't had a chance, if they even have any slots left for Club 40, you guys still have slots left? Mike? Did I lose you, Mike? I think we might have lost Mike. Hopefully he'll jump back in real quick. But listen, go sign up for SFL Mini. Yeah. So what I was telling him, Mike, is there any Juju? So Juju does have some spots back left for Club 40.
Yes, he's got 20 spots left.
Okay, there you go. So listen, you guys go sign up. I did, so go help him out. Talented kid. It's 2024 season's going to be proper mega for him. Big shout out to my man Jake Marsh and the Clothing King podcast, the whole R&D race team right out there that actually sponsors Pin the Gas. What an honor it is. My man Martin from the Clothing Kings. .co.uk. You can go out there and get all Pin the Gas merch, hats, t-shirts, all that good stuff. But listen, guys, I'm gonna get off here. I'm gonna let Mike go. It was an absolute honor. Can't wait for part 3, Mike.
Yeah, man. Thank you again. I know I promised you a lot of questions and stuff, so I don't want to leave you feeling like we didn't want to address your comments. So if you want to send me your comments, send me your comments. I'll make videos addressing every single one of them. I promise. So I'll go through the chat. I'll see what comments are there. If you want to message me those comments. I'm on Instagram, SFLminiGP.com. On Facebook, hit me on Messenger. Send me an email, however you feel comfortable. Get me the question over, and I promise you I'll make a video and I'll address a bunch of questions. So we did get carried away in the podcast, but it was a great conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you understood kind of like the hard knock version of what the sport is, what to expect. There's so much more that we could talk about. We can make this podcast 24 hours long if we wanted to. So we will do it again. Chris, again, congratulations to you, dude. Massive, massive job getting your podcast off the ground. You've got great guests. You're doing stuff every day, man. I'm proud of you. I'm excited that you invite me back. I'm excited that you invite the Mini GP kids in, and congrats to you, dude. Fantastic job.
Thank you, man. Yeah, absolutely. It's an absolute honor. Absolutely. But yeah, listen, everybody, I will see you soon. I have a podcast Thursday. Yeah. So I'll see you guys on the day after tomorrow. See you guys. So yeah, Mike, dude, that was a lot of fun, bro. I appreciate